Hi, this is Colonel D. Welcome to another in our sessions on little how-tos. I figured being the Colonel, I should probably let you folks in on some Colonel secrets, and the best kept Colonel secret is how to make a perfect mint julep. And with Derby coming up, as we're filming this, it's 1 week away, it's about time to get started. I like to let my simple syrup, which is the first thing we're going to make here, I like to let that set up and kind of brew, if you will, and give it about a week. So honestly, by Derby Day, this simple syrup that we're going to make today should be really ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to turn my pan on here and let it start warming up. A simple syrup is very simple. It's just water and sugar. Now most of the time you will have people tell you that it should be a one-to-one relationship. In other words, if I'm doing 1 cup of water, I should do 1 cup of sugar. And that's typically generally true, but what you can also do is you can cut it back. So if you're having a problem with sugar, which I am, then I can actually make my simple syrup a little bit weaker by doing a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, or even a 4-to-1 simple syrup. It's still going to be sweet, it's just not going to be as sweet as it might have. Now I'm going to put, this is a 1/2 cup container, and as I can see here, that's not even going to cover the bottom of my pot. So I am going to do a 1 cup mixture here. Get that started heating up. I will also take a little bit of mint. This is purple stemmed spearmint, and that is what you want for a mint julep. In fact, there's even one variety out there that's called the Kentucky Colonel, and that's what is used at the racetrack on Derby Day. And if you'll notice, the stem on here is kind of purplish, and that's how you know you've got the right guy going into your simple syrup. Now I'm just going to do a little bit in there. I can make it as strong or as weak as I want. Wow, I got the mother load there. Yeah, so we'll throw that down in there. I'm getting a little bit of stem here because I really don't care. For the drink itself, you only want the leaves. But when you're making the simple syrup, you can have either one. This is called a muddler. And they can be either wood, as this one is, or they can be metal. And to muddle is simply to bruise. So I'm going to go down in here and I'm going to bruise these leaves so that I'm getting the spearmint oil out of the leaves and the stems and getting more of it into the water. I don't have to be brutal with it. It's not a strength thing. It's just a matter of breaking down a few of those cells so that we can get that oil out of there. I'm going to swing this around so that it's out of my way. Alright, now that's heating up nicely. In fact, I'll turn that down just a touch. And I'm going to add my sugar. Now since I added a cup of water, I should add a cup of sugar. This is a 1 cup container here. So let's see if I can scoop up. That's close enough. Cup of sugar. I'm going to put a little bit in and then stir that so that it's fully incorporated before I put the rest in. There's my spoon. So believe it or not, this will all go into solution. It just takes patience. And you will be rewarded, because this is the key to making a perfect mint julep, is making sure that your simple syrup is correct. Now a lot of people, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this a little early, but a lot of people think that mint juleps taste too much like bourbon. Well, if it does, then that means the person that made it for you really doesn't understand the concept, because you don't want a lot of bourbon. With a simple syrup, because it's sweet, that's going to pull the alcohol from the bourbon right into your system. So you want to actually go lighter on the bourbon in a mint julep than you might in some other thing like a Manhattan or something like that. So that's a common mistake, and if you pour too much bourbon in there, it just suddenly becomes a very unpleasant drink. And that's not what the idea is. The idea is to make you feel like you're enjoying a wonderful summer May day, late spring May day, out at the racetrack. So you really don't want to use a mint julep to get crazy. There's plenty of other mechanisms you can use for that. So I'm going to continue to make the simple syrup here, and then we'll come back in when it's ready. Well, we've just about got the simple syrup ready here, and I should actually taste it to make sure that it has enough mint. And I'm actually going to add just a little bit of mint because I don't think we've got quite the mintification that we want here. I love making up my own words. So we'll put a few more mint leaves in there. This is always something that you can do. You can always put more in. If you start out with it too minty, you can't take it back out. So let's grab our muddler and we'll muddle these new leaves. You can see the leaves that have been in there for a while. Those are starting to shrink down, and we've really gotten a lot of the oils out of them. So this is a good sign. Now I'm starting to smell the mint. That's what you want to do. You want to smell that mint. Make it going on. And there we go. Now we're starting to see them break down. Kind of seeing the dark spots. That's where the oil is coming out and going into our simple syrup. So let's stir that up again. Alright, so remember we had 1 cup of water, 1 cup of sugar, but we can also break that down, and if you don't want it quite as sweet, just cut that back. You can have 1 cup of water and a half a cup of sugar, and you're going to be just fine. You will not be able to tell the difference in that mint julep. It's just going to be, dare we say, healthier? A healthy mint julep. I like that thought. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to let this cool down. The next process, like I say, I would take this, we're going to kind of short change it here today, but I would put this in the refrigerator, cover it, and let it stand so that it's actually brewing much like a tea would. And from now till Derby Day, which is next Saturday, 1 week away from when we're filming this today, that's really about the right amount of time to let your simple syrup with your mint incorporate. And come Derby Day, that is going to be so nice and minty. It'll be perfect to make your julep. So today we're going to cheat just a little bit. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you then how to prepare the julep, and we're just breaking all the rules today. We're using a plastic cup, but there are certain things we have to do so that in order to show you. So I'm going to grab a couple of leaves here. Of good sized leaves. Come off of there. And we're going to put just a little bit of sugar in the bottom of the glass. The reason that we do that, the whole reason why that sugar is there, is that's going to help us break down the mint leaves. Now you can strain these out after you're finished if you want to. I find that to be a little bit wimpy. I enjoy tasting the little mint leaves that are down inside my julep. So we're going to break that down, and I'm going to pass this around to the folks that are here and have them smell this, because this is quite possibly one of the best smells that you can have going on. Let's see if you all can smell the mint. Nice and strong, right? So that is going to enhance the mintiness of what we've just done in the simple syrup. Sorry about that. And Technically, this ice should be much smaller than this. We should have crushed ice, and honestly, the smaller the better. I'm going to put a couple of cubes in here, which is a little crazy for that much, but since this is still hot and hasn't had an opportunity to cool down, we're going to need that ice in order to make this julep thing work. And I'm going to take my spoon here, my quarter cup, and we're going to put that in our glass. And then you honestly only want about 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces of bourbon. This Kentucky Tavern is a wonderful bourbon to use if you're adding things to your bourbon. If you're just going to sip bourbon, this is not your sipping variety. I would want more of a single barrel, something that I know has had some craft put to it. But for a julep, this is probably the perfect mix, because KT is a mighty good bourbon. So I've got a little bit of bourbon there, a little bit of simple syrup, and again, if we were doing this traditionally, I would just stir and stir and stir and stir that until I was certain that I had it fully incorporated and the side of my glass was frosted. Now you can take these same ingredients and you don't necessarily have to make an alcoholic drink out of it. What we've done is, ahead of time, my dear friend Alex, whom you've seen on other videos, made up some bergamot tea. Has bergamot in it. Which one is it? It is the
Earl Grey.
Earl Grey. Yeah, boy, mind is a terrible thing. So we can do the same exact thing with tea, and all you're really doing is you're sweetening up the tea. So again, I can take a couple of cubes. Probably don't need 2 in this one because this is already cold. And I can, let's see, let's keep it straight here, Colonel. You can handle it. Put a little bit of the simple syrup in our drink. And then add our Earl Grey tea. You could go ahead and you could actually muddle a mint leaf in there, or you could simply take a mint leaf and make it a garnish on the side. And that's how you use your simple syrup in an alcoholic drink or a non-alcoholic drink. Happy Derby, and we'll hope to see you again. If you ever have any questions about a recipe that you're working on or an ingredient you're trying to find, give us a call, send us an email, stop up on the website, or stop here at Colonel D. Gourmet Herbs and Spices at Jungle Jim's, or visit us at Findlay Market. Until next time, this is the Colonel. See you later.